What's going on, my soul family? Welcome back to another episode of the Awake with Jake show. I just want to start out this episode by telling you how much I love you and I appreciate you. Thank you for being here. Today's episode, I'm going to be answering a very powerful question that I received from one of my listeners. And this question is really going to help you to understand masculine and feminine energies and how they're working in your life and in relationships specifically. So before I get into this question, I just want to ask a small favor of you. If you could just take a moment right now and leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, that would mean the world to me. When you do this, you help me to reach more souls with my messages of hope, wisdom, and love. And if you would like to get all of my content downloaded immediately to your device, make sure you hit the subscribe button and all of the future content will be immediately downloaded as it comes out. So as these downloads come through, they'll download right to your phone. Now, this question is this, and I'm really excited about this question, by the way, because I know there's going to be a ton of value that comes through. Why do I constantly attract weak men that need to be saved? I love the way in which she asked this question and how she's immediately taking responsibility for what she is attracting into her reality. Imagine if we lived in a world full of awakened people that chose to take responsibility for what shows up in their life. Can you imagine if we self-reflected instead of blamed the outer world, instead of blaming the universe, instead of blaming God, thinking that the universe and God are out to get you, that they're plotting against you? That's not how it works, okay? You're attracting things to you based on your vibrational energy. By the energy that you are putting out into the world, it's being reciprocated back to you vibrationally. Now, another message that's coming through right now is this. The only thing, and I say this with a capital O, the only thing that you can offer to anyone else in this human experience is the work that you have done on yourself. In all relationships, romantic, friendships, whatever, family members, the work you have done on yourself will constantly be mirrored back to you. So if you're still hung up in the lower chakras, we'll say, in the earthly chakras, and you're identified with your big, thick ego, guess what? The universe is going to constantly send back to you and mirror back to you your own big, thick ego. Okay, so the reason why this happens is so you can dismantle your big, thick ego. Okay. Now, if your heart is open and you're vibrating in higher planes of consciousness and you're identified with soul consciousness and universal consciousness and unity consciousness and God consciousness, guess what? You're going to attract people into your experience that also mirror that back to you. This is why I'm such an advocate for doing this type of work and creating inner transformation. Now, I have broken down this answer, this response that I have, in 5 different parts to kind of make this a little bit more digestible. Okay, there's going to be a lot here around masculine and feminine energy, but it's really important that you learn these things if you want to have a conscious and awake relationship with another person. So the first thing is look at your own energies. Okay, so the reason why you might be attracting these quote unquote weak men that need to be saved is because your masculine energy is overpowering and you're carrying a strong masculine energy. So you're going to attract your energetic reciprocal, meaning think about it like magnets. A positive and negative are attracted to each other, but a positive and positive are repelled. So if you're attracting these type of damsel in distress feminine men that are wounded feminine more or less, then maybe your masculine energy is wounded. Now, the way in which energy works in the game of polarity and sexual polarity, you will attract your energetic reciprocal, meaning that if you have wounded masculine energy, you may often attract wounded feminine energy. Okay. So for example, this type of wounded feminine man could be very flighty, very indecisive, kind of all over the place, not really know who he is, not know why he's here, not know his purpose, not be able to make decisions, not be able to lead at all. And he's very wounded feminine and he's really in his emotions. So maybe he even manifests as very narcissistic, which is a very wounded feminine energy. He might even be shameful towards you. So if you're attracting these type of kind of flimsy, weak, wounded men that are really wounded feminine men, it's because a lot of times your masculine energy is so strong that they look to you as mother figure. They see mother, they want to be saved. And that's what the wounded feminine is always seeking, to be saved. Now, the wounded masculine is looking for people to save. Okay. So the first thing here is, what is the relationship that you have to your masculine energy? And what is the relationship that you have to your feminine energy? Because remember, the universe is sending you these frequencies, these energetic matches, these vibrational matches to show you where you have work to do on yourself. We can use everything that comes into our reality as a vehicle to help us awaken. Now, the second thing that I want to talk about is the current state of masculinity on our planet. I'm just going to flat out say it. It's shit, okay? It's very deeply wounded. The patriarchal, wounded masculine energy has been deeply ingrained in our collective consciousness for many years. And right now, that is being purified. And I want to talk briefly about this, because here's what's going on energetically. Basically, the Divine Mother has awakened because she is sick and tired of seeing what is happening to her children on the planet. And that's physically manifested as the human trafficking, the child sex trafficking being exploited right now. And if you don't know about this, I'm sure you're going to start hearing about it more and more. And believe me, this is what's going on because we are seeing the Divine Mother awaken. And she is sick and tired of all of this stuff going on. So think of like Goddess Kali Ma, who is depicted as a very dark goddess. She's depicted as blood dripping from her teeth and skulls hanging around her neck. But she's actually very compassionate because she devours your demons. She devours your shadows and your fears. Now, as this Divine Mother has awakened, she is purifying this unconscious, wounded, toxic masculine energy from our planet, okay? So a lot of women don't trust the masculine energy. A lot of people don't trust the masculine energy. I know the household that I grew up in, I was exposed to a lot of wounded masculine energy. I didn't trust it for a very long time. A lot of people don't feel safe with the current state of masculinity. And believe me, they have every right not to, because it's very unconscious. It's very dense, we could call it. It was very lower chakra, still rooted in chakras 1 and 2, the root chakra, which is safety, security, survival, and the sacral chakra, which is all around lust. But believe me, these also have powers within them as well, and it's not all bad. But what I'm saying is most men are not present, okay? They're not purpose driven. They don't have a devotion to serve. Now, they end up being very flighty because their masculine energy is kind of wavering all over the place like a flag blowing in the wind. So these strong masculine independent women keep attracting these kind of flighty feminine men, these Peter Pan type men. And they're like, why the hell can't I get a man just to commit to me? Because you keep attracting these wounded type flighty men because your masculine shield is so strong, because you were brought into a corrupt reality that forced you into being something that you are not. Whoo! Whoa! We are fired up today. We are fired up. What is happening is women are being forced to play these masculine roles that they are not true to their core. Now, this isn't to say that some women don't really actually have a masculine core, because they do. There are a certain percentage of women, a smaller percentage, maybe 10 to 20% of women that have a true masculine core. But most women who have a feminine core are being forced into these rigid masculine boxes, okay? And it does not feel natural to their body. And they may even manifest physical pain as a result of being too much in their masculine. And when you're too much in your masculine, you're going to polarize to you this feminine, flighty man. Okay? So step 1 is looking at your relationship to your own masculine and feminine energy. Step 2 is understanding the current state of the masculine energy on our planet. As the divine feminine rises, as the mother rises, you are seeing a destruction, a purification, which is like the flame burning across the land, the burning of the old so the new can be born, the new can be birthed into this current reality. That is what is happening energetically. So internally, you may feel a lot of emotions, a lot of stuff going on internally, because your emotional body is plugged into this energetic grid, this universal grid of consciousness. So you're feeling all of this stuff happening, going on right now. So even if you think, well, I'm not involved in that, you're still feeling it because remember, we are all one. We are all one energy connected through God energy, connected through source energy. So of course you're going to feel this. And the more you're tuned into this, the more you're open to all of this, guess what? The more you're going to feel it deeply. That's why when people start to awaken, they go through what's called a dark night of the soul, and they keep going through these dark nights of the soul, and they're like, what the hell is going on here? Am I crazy? Do I need medicine? They go through all these different things, but it's part of the awakening process. Okay? Step 3, what is your relationship to your father energy? Okay? Maybe if you were abandoned by your father, you took on this masculine role at a very young age. Maybe you had to take care of your mother, okay? And I see and have worked with a lot of women that take on these masculine roles. A lot of women come to my retreats that are very in their masculine. They don't know how to get into their feminine because all they've ever been their entire life was stuck and forced into this rigid masculine role, but it doesn't feel right to them. It does not feel right to them because they're like, I just want my feminine heart to be cherished. I want my feminine heart to be seen. I want to be heard. I want to be felt. I want to feel deeply. I want to love deeply. I want to connect at a sensual, vulnerable level. But if you've never done that internally, how can you do that in relationship with another person? Because remember, you can only go to the depth with a person as you've gone within yourself. You can only understand someone at the level you understand yourself. At the level you've expanded your own consciousness is what you will attract to you vibrationally. So what is the relationship that you have with your father energy? Do you still have resentment or wounds there? Did he abandon you? Or did he never show you healthy masculine energy? Because remember, the father is the first person, the first man that a woman loves, okay? So if he's not there emotionally, he's not there present, and he's not structured and supportive and strong and loving, then guess what? She starts to develop and understand a relationship to the masculine that's not healthy. Now, another thing that plays a factor in this as well is the mother energy, because a lot of times if the father isn't more of the masculine person and the mother takes on the masculine role, then she could be too dominant. And she maybe never learned a healthy relationship to their feminine because the mother didn't have a healthy relationship to her feminine energy. So there's a lot of things at work here. And I want to give you this little side tip kind of thing. Something that helped me immensely to heal father wounds was forgiveness. Now, I can remember throughout all the pain that I went through with my father, hurt me deeply, physically, emotionally, spiritually, many, many times for many, many years. And I went through hell with my dad. Okay. Something that helped me a lot to heal these deep ingrained masculine wounds was something that's so simple, but yet so difficult, which was forgiveness. Because forgiving my father, and this took many years, believe me, it is a freaking process. Forgiving my father has allowed me to open up parts of my heart that I never even knew existed. It allowed me to let down this masculine machismo, tough guy bullshit when I started forgiving my father. And I'll never forget the day that I sat down and started forgiving my dad. I closed my eyes and I visualized my father and I started to cry, this really deep cry. And the tears were hitting the floor so hard that it was making these pounding noise. You could hear him smacking on the floor. That's how hard my tears were hitting the floor when I started unveiling and revealing the pain that I had hidden in my heart from the hatred that I had towards my dad. Now, it took me many years to really let go of those anchors, and it will probably take you many years to let go of those wounds. And it could be father wounds, it could be mother wounds. If you have some type of sexual trauma and you don't trust men because you were raped by a man, this is the work that I invite you to do, okay? Remember, you can only offer to another person the work that you have done on yourself. And if you're here right now listening to learn, to explore, to heal, I commend you for that because it is such an honorable thing to even start to look within. Because remember, the ego is always blaming the outer world. So when you start to look within at yourself, at your wounds, that is truly amazing. And the more you look within, the more you discover who you are, why you're here, what you stand for. Life becomes so much more beautiful. Living a conscious life is so much better than going through life sleepwalking. Because remember, when you're asleep, you are a cog in the matrix. It's very simple like that. I was a cog in the matrix. I was a robot in the matrix. And remember, they create these robots with something that you need to feed off of. You need a power source. And you're really good when you're obedient and you obey to everything that the matrix wants you to do in the third dimension of reality. But when you unplug from that power source, you start feeding yourself on your own soul's energy. And that's the real food. That's the real fruit of life. The fourth thing that I have here is sexual repulsion. When you are in your masculine, say 90% of the time, you are going to repel other masculine energy 90% of the time. If you're in your masculine 100% of the time, guess what? You're going to repel sexually, I'm talking romantically, other masculine energy 100% of the time. So if you're in your masculine, say 20, 30% of the time, now you're opening up your feminine and you're calling in the masculine, the sacred masculine. Because if you have a healthy relationship to your masculine and feminine energies, which is something that I teach in depth inside my online course for healing your masculine and feminine energies, if you have a healthy relationship to your masculine and feminine energies, then you will attract a partner who also has a healthy relationship to their masculine and feminine energies. So if you are identified with your masculine most of the time, then you are going to most of the time repel masculine energy from coming into your energetic field. And if it does come into your energetic field, there will be no sexual polarity there. Remember, sexual polarity in relationship is what really creates that spark and the lasting spark. 10, 20, 30 years down the road, you still have that magnetic connection from the masculine and the feminine energies polarizing towards each other and magnetizing to each other. Now, when two people start getting into their feminine energy or start getting into their masculine energy, they start to repel each other energetically. Okay? So the fourth thing I have here is a sexual repulsion. So if you're really wanting a masculine partner and you're like, I don't understand why they're not coming in, my question for you is, are you carrying a masculine shield that is actually blocking him? You're like banging him in the head with your shield. You're like, I just want you to come in, but I just want you to stay out. And you're like in this inner conflict. You have this inner conflict of like, well, I want a conscious man to come in, but you bang him in the head with your shield every time he comes in. And you're like, why the hell won't you just come in? Like, I want you to come in, but I want you to stay out. And it's just like, what do you want? What do you want? Do you want to be the masculine in the relationship? Is that what you want? Because if you do, that's fine, but you're going to have more of a feminine person in your life, and that's okay too. So you have to decide what you want to be in relationship. If you want to be the divine feminine most of the time in your relationship, you're going to have to allow him or her to be the divine masculine, because there has to be that polarity. And if there's not polarity, it doesn't work. Think about it like this. The cells in your body have a positive and negative charge. If there was not a positive and negative charge between the cells, if there was not a polarizing charge, you would not have life force to breathe, to live. You would not be alive without polarity. Okay? So as you harmonize your inner energies, you create this beautiful dance here on earth. Now, the fifth thing I have is how to create sexual polarity by letting down your shield. So for the woman that asked this original question, which, by the way, let me read it again just in case you forgot what the question was. Why do I constantly attract weak men that need to be saved? Okay. So how to create sexual polarity is by resting more in your feminine more often, allowing the radiance of your feminine heart to shine through your body. And yes, that is possible. Closing your eyes right now and just anchoring into this energy, visualizing yourself as a divine goddess, feeling into this divine feminine energy, visualizing yourself receiving. The feminine energy is the receptive energy, receiving this masculine energy to you, polarizing this masculine energy to you, the divine conscious masculine energy, and releasing, continuing to keep your eyes closed, releasing your stories around there is no good masculine men in this world. Releasing your fears around this and allowing this energy to polarize to you. Opening up your energetic vortex, your universal vortex, to allow this masculine energy to enter your life. You are so worthy of love. you are worthy of a divine love. If you desire a sacred masculine man, you are worthy of that. If you desire a sacred masculine woman, you are worthy of that. I want you to know that you are worthy of love no matter what you have been conditioned to believe, no matter what shame or guilt or fears you have around love. I invite you to quiet down your mind. The more you clear out the stuff in your mind, the more available that you become to the wisdom of your heart, to the love within your heart. Thank you so much for tuning into this message today. I hope that it brought you a ton of value. If it did, please take a screenshot of it and share it to your Instagram story, and be sure to tag me so I can reshare it. And as always, stay open, stay loving, and stay connected to that beautiful source within you.